Let me just check the mic. Mic check 1 2 3. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check 1 2 3. Okay, 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 okay. अच्छा जी, तो हम लोगों को आज ये देखना है कि बिटकॉइन के नेक्स्ट कौन से लेवल्स हैं जो काम आएंगे हमारे पास हाई टाइम फ्रेम के अंदर। बिटकॉइन, लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द वीकली टाइम फ्रेम। तो पहले हम लोग जाएंगे वीकली टाइम फ्रेम के ऊपर। और वीकली टाइम फ्रेम के बाद हम लोग क्या करेंगे कि यहाँ से हम लोग बिटकॉइन के लेवल्स निकालेंगे, कौन सा नेक्स्ट बाइंग जोन है। तो अभी प्रीवियस हमारे पास फॉर द लास्ट लाइक 42 डेज हम लोग एक टाइट ट्रेडिंग रेंज के अंदर है। वी आर इन अ टाइट ट्रेडिंग रेंज। ये हमारा प्रीवियस ऑल टाइम हाई, प्रीवियस ऑल टाइम हाई को मार्क करेंगे ब्लू लाइन के साथ। हमने प्रीवियस ऑल टाइम हाई को, जस्ट गिव मी अ मिनट, सेटिंग Just give me a minute. वीकली टाइम फ्रेम के अंदर हमारे पास जो लास्ट ऑल टाइम हाई था वो था हमारा 20 जनवरी 2025 के अंदर, जो कि प्राइस थी 1,09,350। तो एक उस ऑल टाइम हाई को हमने मार्क कर दिया। अभी मजे की बात यह है कि जो भी कैंडल्स हमें वीकली टाइम फ्रेम के ऊपर नजर आ रही हैं वो एक भी कैंडल हमें क्लोजिंग नहीं दे रही। वी स्टिल नॉट गेटिंग अ सिंगल क्लोज वीकली टाइम फ्रेम के ऊपर। अगर हम लोग लोअर टाइम फ्रेम के अंदर अभी जाएंगे तो हमें कुछ क्लोजेस मिले हुए हैं। लेकिन वीकली टाइम फ्रेम की वैलिडेशन सिर्फ वीकली टाइम फ्रेम ही करता है, तो इसीलिए हम लोगों को कोई भी क्लोजिंग नजर नहीं आ रही एज फॉर नाउ। तो अभी ये ये वाला पॉइंट 112, 1,12,000 से लेकर हमारे पास 98,000 तक की बीच की एक रेंज बन जाएगी। अभी हम लोग इस रेंज के बीच में चॉप 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 कर रहे हैं, तो हमारा अगर हम लोग रेंज इसकी मार्क करें यहाँ से यहाँ तक, तो इसकी रेंज कैसे मार्क की जाएगी, इसको हम लोग ऐसे करेंगे कि डिफॉल्ट जो इसके सेटिंग्स हैं, यू कैन अप्लाई डिफॉल्ट सेटिंग्स, इसके अंदर से हम लोग ने ये मिटा देंगे, ये मिटा देंगे, 50% रहने देंगे, 618 मिटा देंगे, ये मिटा देंगे, ये मिटा देंगे, ये मिटा देंगे। अभी हम लोगों को इस रेंज को 3 हिस्सों में डिवाइड करना है, 1/3 हिस्सा। तो एक हिस्सा ऊपर का हो जाएगा, एक बीच का हिस्सा हो जाएगा और एक नीचे वाला हिस्सा हो जाएगा, ये वीकली टाइम फ्रेम के अंदर जो हमारी रेंज है उसको मार्क करने के लिए। तो हम लोग किस तरह से उसको मार्क करेंगे, 0.33, जीरो के बाद 0.33, 0.33, ये हमने ओके कर दिया, तो ये लोअर थर्ड आ गया। और उसके बाद हम लोग करेंगे अपर पोर्शन मार्क, 33 ये हो गया, हमारा अपर पोर्शन आ जाएगा 0.7, 33 और 66। अगर हम लोग इस बिटकॉइन की ओवरऑल रेंज को लेके हम लोग लोअर टाइम फ्रेम के अंदर आ जाएं, तो हमारे पास जो ऊपर वाला पोर्शन बनता है, ये वाला पोर्शन हमारे पास सेलिंग जोन बन जाता है, जो कि प्राइस आएगी 1,12,000 से लेकर हमारे पास जो 1,07,000 तक की जो प्राइस है, वो हमारी सेलिंग जोन हो जाएगी। और नीचे वाला पोर्शन जो रेंज का है वो ओवरऑल बाइंग जोन हो जाएगा, अज्यूमिंग हमारी इस बात के पीछे अजम्पशन बेसिक ये है कि हम लोग एक ट्रेडिंग रेंज के अंदर है। अगर मैं इसको एज लॉन्ग एज इस जगह पर हम लोग टिके हैं, तो इसको ऐसे एज्यूम करना कि हम लोग ट्रेडिंग रेंज के अंदर है, वो आपका अच्छा पर्सपेक्टिव रखेगा ट्रेडिंग करने के लिहाज से। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ आई एज्यूम इट एज ए ट्रेंड, तो मैं फिर क्या करूंगा, मैं वो जगह जहां पे रेंज के अंदर सेलिंग जोन आता है, मैं वहां पे बाइंग करना शुरू कर दूंगा, जिसकी प्रोबेबिलिटी विल बी वेरी लो। सही है, until unless we are within this specific higher time frame range जो कि हमारी वीकली टाइम फ्रेम के अंदर है, तब तक मैं इसको अज्यूम करूंगा कि हम लोग, ये फर्स्ट लेग हो गई हमारी, ये सेकंड लेग होगी, वी आर गोना मेक अ थर्ड लेग, एक तीसरी लेग रहती है, देन वी आर गोना मूव टुवर्ड्स द अपसाइड इन जनरल। तो वीकली टाइम फ्रेम से हम लोग आ जाएंगे, इसको हम लोग वीकली टाइम फ्रेम से देख लिया हमने। उसके बाद दूसरा हमारा जो टाइम फ्रेम आता है, एक लोअर टाइम फ्रेम, 7 डेज के अंदर डिवाइड कर देंगे वीकली कैंडल को, तो हमारे पास आ जाएगा डेली, 7 डेज नहीं, 5 डेज, हमारे पास ट्रेडिंग डेज 5 होते हैं। तो जब हमने इसको डिवाइड कर दिया 5 हिस्सों में, तो हमारे पास डेली कैंडल्स आ जाएंगे 24 आवर्स ईच। तो ये हमारा, ये जो प्राइस एक्शन इस जगह पे शो हो रहा है डेली टाइम फ्रेम के अंदर, वही सिमिलर प्राइस एक्शन ये हो रहा है। और सिमिलरली हमारे पास जो ये ब्लैक जोन है, ये हमारा कंसीडरिंग इट एज ए रेंज, ये हमारा ऑटोमेटिकली सेलिंग जोन बन जाएगा, ये वाला हमारा ऑटोमेटिकली बाइंग जोन बन जाएगा, और मिडिल में इट्स नो मैंस लैंड। ठीक है, तो अभी मैं ये करता हूँ कि हम लोगों ने डेली टाइम फ्रेम देख लिया, वीकली टाइम फ्रेम देख लिया, नेक्स्ट जो लेवल आता है हमारे पास वो 4 आवर्स का आ जाता है स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन में। सही है, टाइम फ्रेम की स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन से। अब कीप इन माइंड कि ये वाला जो पोर्शन है ये हमारा डेली टाइम फ्रेम का है, एज यहाँ पे वाटर मार्क भी शो है। और जो दूसरा हमारे पास लेवल आता है छोटे टाइम फ्रेम के अंदर, वो हमारे पास है 4 आवर्स का। ओके, मैं अभी ये करने लगा हूं कि जो हमारे पास ये कलर्स हैं, मैंने थोड़ा सा इनको मैं वीक कर दूंगा, क्योंकि ये मुझे बहुत ज्यादा डिस्ट्रैक्ट कर रहे हैं। चलो, मैंने इन कलर्स को कर दिया वीक। और ये कलर्स नहीं, ये लाइंस वीक हो रही हैं। डैम इट, डैम इट, एक मिनट, मैं यार ये ठीक है। और हमने बैकग्राउंड को वीक कर दिया, बैकग्राउंड को वीक कर दिया, थोड़ा सा लाएंगे ताकि ऐड सम कलर। अच्छा, तो अच्छा, नेक्स्ट थिंग वी हैव टू कीप दिस इन माइंड कि ये जो हमारे पास था ये रीसेंट हाई है। ये हमारे पास 25 जनवरी का रीसेंट हाई है। और जो उससे प्रीवियस हाई था 4 आवर्स के टाइम फ्रेम के ऊपर भी और हायर टाइम फ्रेम के ऊपर भी, जो उससे प्रीवियस हाई था हमारे पास, वो ये है। ये दोनों लेवल्स मार्क करना बेहतर होंगे ब्लू लाइन के साथ। कोई भी चीज अगर हायर टाइम फ्रेम पे एज अ हाई और बहुत ज्यादा जिसका मायने होता है, आई मार्क देम एज अ ब्लू लाइन। तो चलो ये दोनों मैंने मार्क कर दिए। ठीक है, अभी हमने क्या क्या डिसाइड कर दिया। फर्स्ट थिंग वी हैव डिसाइडेड दैट एज ऑफ नाउ, एज लॉन्ग एज हम लोग इस बार 1,12,000 की रेंज के अंदर रहेंगे, तो मैं ऐसा सोचूं इसके बारे में कि ये ट्रेडिंग रेंज ज्यादा बेहतर है रिलेटिव टू, मैं सोचूं कि ये ट्रेंड है। इट इज अ ट्रेंड, आई एम नॉट डिनाइंग दैट इट्स नॉट अ ट्रेंड, बट ये एक लेग इसकी रहती है, प्रोबेबली एक लेग रहती है। अगर वो लेग मुझे दे देगा देन आई एम गोना बाय इट स्विंग ट्रेडिंग के लिए। एज ऑफ नाउ हमारे पास ये जो ब्लैक जोन है दैट वुड बी आवर सेलिंग जोन। हमारे पास ये वाला, अच्छा, स्पेसिफिकली थोड़ा सा हम लोग ऐसा करते हैं कि वी कैन गो इन डेप्थ, इसकी डेप्थ में जाते हैं थोड़ा सा। भी नेक्स्ट हम लोगों को क्या देखना होगा कि बिटकॉइन की वॉलेटिलिटी, बिटकॉइन की वॉलेटिलिटी, द नेक्स्ट थिंग विच इज रियली इम्पोर्टेंट। मैंने पिछली भी अपनी लाइव स्ट्रीम्स के अंदर बताया था कि यार बिटकॉइन वॉलेटिलिटी इंडेक्स बी वॉल इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इफ यू आर ट्रेडिंग बीटीसी और आप मोमेंटम ट्रेड कर रहे हो, तो बिटकॉइन का वॉलेटिलिटी इंडेक्स इज रियली इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू। बिकॉज अगर आप कोई प्लान कर रहे हो ट्रेड, until unless Bitcoin BTC wall is above 2 point, like ये above range है, ये normal range है, इससे ऊपर जब तक नहीं होगी it's gonna be a low probability trade। ठीक है। और एक और चीज बताई ये थी कि जो these are the two white lines, statistically speaking ये white lines मतलब जब जब भी मार्केट इसके ऊपर आती है तो there's an 80% चांस, 80 बेसिकली 90% चांस जहां से मार्केट बाउंस करेगी और वॉलेटिलिटी श्रिंक हो गई है। बिटकॉइन के अंदर काफी ज्यादा वॉलेटिलिटी श्रिंक हो गई है और नाउ इट्स गोना एक्सपैंड। वॉलेटिलिटी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होगी, नाउ द next thing would be volatility expansion. So now you can see on a 4 hours time frame we have broken out the previous candles high, bearish candles high, and we are trying to make a higher high on the B wall, Bitcoin volatility index, that makes it a high probability trade on the Bitcoin. ये जो consider this as a selling zone as of now. Okay, suppose if we move above this price point, if we move above this price point and give a closing above this price point, okay, on a weekly time frame, see this. If I remove this distraction, right? This is a weekly time frame. This was the recent high on 20th January 2025. We never got a closing above any of these candles, never got a closing above the weekly all-time high. So for me to consider it as a bullish and the trend resumption, I need at least a closing above the previous candle or this candle high or the range overall. Then I would be willing to like go long on a basically swing trade or a position trade. Jude, can you show a stock if I suggest about what about AT&T? AT&T, Jude, just wait a minute. Let me check. I would have to run it through my system. Just give me a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna give an unbiased opinion about the AT&T. Oh, okay, AT&T is very, very, very similar to how the NASDAQ is trading, right? Okay, so AT&T follows. Just let me just open up the chart here also. AT&T, AT&T, New York Stock Exchange. AT&T is at 28. So you can see that we are in a long term, like we are in this range for last 3, 4, 5 years, right? In this range. So we are gonna mark the high and the low of this range. Gonna mark this high on a higher time frame. First, we are gonna mark the main important levels on the higher time frame. And then we are gonna come to the lower time frame. Okay, so you see that we got a double or a triple bottom from this point, right? If we make a standard deviation, 1, 2, 3, from this high to this low. From this high to this low. We are at the two standard deviations. We are at the two standard deviations. I am gonna tell you that what is the probability? It's the most likely that's gonna happen. Okay. So if you're interested in buying this, I would suggest you to wait. I would suggest you to wait for some time because the best price you will get is gonna be move to the daily time frame. 1 day, even on a daily time frame, this is a range, right? This is an overall range, and we are slightly moving up and up within this range, but it's an overall range. So I would still consider it as a range, but where are the buying zones and am I allowed to sell it? If I were you, I would not sell this. I would wait for the market to come back to 27.52. These are the important levels which you should you should have definitely have and also when the price comes to this point, keep an eye on it how the price will react to these levels. On a smaller time frame, 1 hour, हमारे पास smaller time frame के ऊपर 27.52, these are the intraday levels, but still the price is gonna react to it like very good. 27.52 coordinates 27.52 and 26.91, 26.91. Okay, in this range. Okay. Mark this as green. Okay. If I were to intraday this AT&T, I would take a short-term trades from this level. Just keep a note of these two coordinates. And if the price falls below these two levels, the next level which I'm interested in buying it, I'm not interested in selling this. Just keep this in mind. I'm not interested in selling this as long as it makes a high, like on a higher time frame, it makes a lower high. As long as it doesn't do that or moves below this specific range, I'm not interested in selling this. Okay. So if the price moves below this level, the 27.52, 26.91, then I'll be looking to buy it from 26.57. The next level would be 26.57. These levels are very close to each other, but still they are very, very relevant and important. 26.57, 26.57, and 25.27, 25.27. Okay. So the price is very likely to react from this level because these, if I divide it into three thirds, this would be the selling zone and this would be the buying zone, and 50% would be overall no trading zone. Okay. So on AT&T, this is what I would tell here. Long term, long, short term range and s- s- low probability as long as we are still within this range. As long as if we move below this range, move below 25, then I would be like interested in selling this, but I would not sell it until I get a confirmation. Then I would be probably selling it to thus one standard deviation, the retest of this point. I would be interested in retesting of this high, a single standard deviation of this point. Okay. Or this gap. But as long as we are above this point, these are the two levels I'm interested in buying from, not selling. Sellers are unlikely to make money in the long term. If you are intraday trading it, basically you are trading it within an hours or 2 hours range, then you are okay selling it. But it's overall a low probability for sellers. And for swing traders, this is a long term long. Okay, okay, let's get back to the Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. Okay, the same case goes with, तो हमारे पास दोबारा से हम लोग इस बात पे आ गए। अच्छा, बिटकॉइन के अंदर हम लोगों का अगर इसी तरह से भी लुक एट बिटकॉइन लेवल्स, तो हमारे पास बिटकॉइन के कौन कौन से लेवल्स आएंगे? बिटकॉइन के 105। डैंग, 105 तो यार बहुत ज्यादा बीच में आ रहा है। 105 से लेके 103 तक का लेवल बनता है, एग्जैक्ट एग्जैक्ट 105 एंड 103। 103.52, 103.52, or you can just say okay, the fair value gap on this point. Okay, it's generally a no man's land, but it's a low probability trade. But if we were to move above this point, if the price wants to move above this range, it should take support from this point. and it's basically a 60% probability that it's going to happen, and 40% it's likely that we are in a trading range. So as long as we are still in within this box, I'm going to assume that we are in a trading range. Let's move even a step closer on a 15 minutes time frame and change this to 4 hours. इसको बदल दिया 4 आवर्स के अंदर. अभी हम लोग जाएंगे और गहरे में. So as I've mentioned पहले के BTC volatility index is rising. You see this? ये बी वॉल इंडेक्स है 53 से ऊपर हम लोग 0.72. once we move above 1.20, 1.20 के ऊपर we can expect large moves in Bitcoin. Let's move to the 15 minutes time frame on Bitcoin. That's interesting. 107,442, 107,440, 107,155. 107,145. Moving back, moving to even a smaller time frame. If we move even to the 1 minute time frame, things change quite a bit. हमारे पास volatility बहुत ज्यादा लो है, तो 1 minute के ऊपर if I trade on 1 minute, it's gonna be a low probability trade. But still, these are the levels and the reference points. 107,601, 107, 601, 545, 545, ये तो हमारे पास आ गया हमारा बिटकॉइन के लेवल्स हम लोगों ने मार्क कर लिए ऑलरेडी. सो नेक्स्ट थिंग जो हम लोग देख रहे हैं वो है बिटकॉइन का 1 मिनट का टाइम फ्रेम. मैंने 1 मिनट के टाइम फ्रेम से पहले 15 मिनट्स का. लेट्स कीप दिस टू द 4 आवर्स. हमारा 15 मिनट्स का जो बाइंग जोन है वो ये वाला बाइंग जोन हमारा 15 मिनट्स का बनता है. और अभी मैं ये नोटिस कर रहा हूँ कि एज वी शुड मूव, और इससे ऊपर 605 से ऊपर वी should stay above 605 as long as we can. That's gonna be very good for the bulls. And if we stay above for the here above 605 for another 15 minutes, then I'm gonna be interested in longs rather than shorts. Okay. So हाई टाइम फ्रेम का कॉन्टेक्स्ट ये है कि इवन विद इन द 4 आवर्स, एक तो हमारी बड़ी टाइम फ्रेम की रेंज हो गई. ये जो हमने वीकली टाइम फ्रेम की रेंज मार्क की है फ्रॉम 112 से लेकर 98,000 तक, एक तो वो हो गई. अभी हम लोग इफ वी कंसीडर द वीकली रेंज एज अ रेंज, वीकली जो हमारा ये वाला पॉइंट है. सो assuming that this from top of this to the low of this channel. हम लोग range के अंदर है, assuming that as long as we are not closing above any of this prior highs or above this overall the last high, all time high, I'm assuming that we are in a trading range. तो मेरी assumption ये है कि हम लोग range के अंदर है. अगर हम लोग range के अंदर है तो I will treat it कि I'm gonna sell it in this black zone and I'm gonna buy this in this green zone. I have divided this range into thirds: 66, 33, 0 and 1. Okay. If I get a confirmation यहाँ से ऊपर हमें closing, once we get a closing above, then I'm gonna treat it as a long-term uptrend as it is from this point. Okay. So it's better to assume that we are in a range as long as we are within this range. अच्छा चलो हम लोगों को एक और काम ये करना है कि देखो on the daily time frame हम लोगों ने क्या किया, we took out the previous overall high of this range on the daily time frame. We are coming back to the apex of this triangle. You see, this is a triangle. Whenever the market makes a triangle, it's generally these three candles are also a doji candle on a high on a 3 days time frame. Okay, we opened from this point, closed this point. Okay, moved down, closed above this point. So it was a bear candle, then two more dojis. These three and this fourth candle is going to be a doji on a 4 days time frame. So overall, we are in a smaller range within this higher range selling zone. The context makes sense. I hope it does make sense. Okay. So what is the apex of this triangle? The apex of this triangle is this point, 107, 255. Okay. जो the apex of what is the apex of this triangle? The apex of this triangle is 107, 256. Okay. So context, you guys are getting the context or not? I hope you are getting the context. Okay. So if we remove all of these drawings, okay, what are we doing on a higher time frame, on the daily time frame? We are in this bearish channel. You see this point? This long bearish channel. As long as we are not giving a closing above this channel or above this point or above this would be the best case scenario for the bulls to close above, but it would be late in the trend, generally late in the trend, and the risk would be lower. So in order to catch the lower risk to higher reward, people tend to trade within this range, hoping that they would get the breakout from this point. But it can result in a lot of losses and a lot of failed tries. So it's better to assume that we are in this range as long as we are still like obviously within this range. Okay. So this was the higher time frame. Oh, wizard. Bro, how are you? It's long, long, long time. So as long as we are within this overall channel, I'll assume that this is a trading range or a downward sloping generally channel. And we will probably, what's gonna we are gonna do? We are probably gonna make a single standard deviation that would take us to 126, but there's a criteria for that. Okay. The first we have established that we are in an uptrend. Okay. The long-term uptrend. So that is established. The second thing is we are going to resume the long-term uptrend, but we are still in the higher time frame range. Okay. So this trend is still intact. Wizard, I'm really like, it's really nice to see you here, bro. So if you remember this point, if you go back to my previous live streams, I hope you remember this D support. Okay, this was drawn on like 7th or 8th March. Okay, this year. So this was the daily time frame support, and this was the bottom. Again, I told everyone, okay, this is the bottom. So we never got a closing. We like basically made a wedge around this point. we made a wedge. This was the last. We move up high. So we are going to continue this trend. We are going to continue this trend, but it's best to assume that we are in a trading range. Acha, chalo, let's move a little more further to the market, going down a time frame. That would be the 4 hours. The 4 hours, 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Okay. So in general, these two levels are important: 108, 388, 109, 358. Even if we give a closing above this point, that would be a good case. That would be very good for the bulls, but not good enough to like take a swing trade. In general, we are in a higher time frame uptrend, but it's best to assume that we are in a range. Okay, let's move to the 15 minutes again. Let's move to the 50 minutes again. So this was the overall contracting range. And within this contracting range, this was the apex of this triangle. We try to revisit this point again, but we are moving above from the 15 minutes buying zone overall. So the criteria for these two lines in the very, very, very small, the smaller time frame, I'm talking context to the very smaller time frame. I'm talking about as we are how many bars. This is how many bars we are up for the last 10 bars above these two lines. So as I just need 10 more bars, then I would be willing to go long on a 1 to 1 or 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio relative to the 1 minute time frame. Okay. I'm generally interested in scalping because the volatility index is very low. So probability is very low. Yeah. 0.72. We are trying to ascend. If once we move above 130 and like 120, 130, then I would be interested in long swing trades, basically capturing 1500 to 2000 points on BTC. But we are below this point. So in general, I'm not interested in swing trading or position trading. Okay, okay, okay. The 4 hours candle is going to close within 2 hours and 16 minutes. Got a closing above, immediately got a closing below. So as we can see, we were in an uptrend or in basically range, not an up, sorry, range. So I'm gonna chop around here for some point, some period of time. Until then, I'm interested in taking trades. Volatility is important. Is the volatility index important on NASDAQ? Yes and no. Yes and no. You should know about it, but you should not put weight to it. You should not put weight to it while making a decision. It should be an aspect in back of your head, but it should not wait while making the decision right now. For example, if the Nasdaq's what is the Nasdaq volatility index? That is the VIX, right? So if the VIX is at basically, which is rare, above 20 or 30, right? So you can assume that we are in a downtrend in general, statistically speaking. We are in a downtrend. And once the NASDAQ or the VIX volatility index is at 17, 16, 15, you can assume that we are grinding slowly upwards, slowly upwards, slowly and upwards until it spikes. Or that can be a pullback. So when this spike happen towards the downside, the VIX will also rise. So that knowledge is important, but it should not play a role or a key role while you are making a decision right now. Okay. So basically, in trading, you have to know a lot of, like, you have to know basically everything that's happening on the chart, around the chart, everywhere. But a very few things are gonna play a key role. while you're pressing the button, right? You cannot take all of the factors into account while pressing the button. It would make you, basically, they are going to contradict most of the time. So you have to sort your priorities with this knowledge. For example, if I've learned something about VIX or about any other thing, for example, majority of the people, I heard that they trade dollar index DXY along with the NASDAQ. So they have an inverse correlation, but not directly inverse correlation. So if I get a good setup on NASDAQ, while dollar is also rising, I would be able to execute on it because I'm afraid, or I won't be able to put a full position on because I have a negating bias or a contradictory information to what I'm trying to do. So you have to sort your priorities. Basically, uh, this knowledge is at my priority list in terms of making a final decision and executing the trade. Yeah. Okay. So those you see this 15 minutes time frame. This 15 minutes time frame. This was the buying zone. Obviously, because I was explaining the higher time frame narrative, I missed out on this short term trade. But even in this context, we are still within this range, a smaller range within this higher range. So the higher range is 112 to 98,000. That would make it a range. If I consider this as a range, this automatically, the upper 33% automatically becomes the selling zone. And the lower portion automatically becomes the buying zone because there's a very fine logic to it, fine logic to it because there are two modes in general. If you categorize overall, if I were to tell you trading in two categories in general, overall, if you look at from the bird eye view, I would tell you that two modes of trading. There are only two modes of trading, right? The trending market, regardless of the uptrend or downtrend, the trending market and the ranging market. What is the difference between two? Both are exactly opposite to each other, like directly opposite to each other. What happens in the trending market is exactly opposite to what happens in the ranging market. To simplify that, in trending markets, I am buying the close in general. Okay, once the price is moving towards the upside, I would try to buy the close, and take it up for further up, right? And that is exactly the opposite what I'm gonna do in the ranging market. So my job is to discern whether the market is in a trend or a range and trade accordingly. For example, if I were to assume this as a trend, this would become my buying zone, right? Automatically become my buying zone. But if I were to assume and take the context of the higher time frame that we are in a overall trading range, the upper portion becomes the selling zone and the lower portion automatically becomes the buying zone, right? I'm not selling as the price is going to this point. I'm trying to buy it. And I'm not buying it as the price is moving up. I'm trying to sell it. Okay. So that would be the context of the higher time frame. And there's one more probability. What if, what if these are the legs are complete and the price is ready to move towards the upside? As if we move towards the one monthly time frame, we are in a higher time frame uptrend, right? Put three pushes up, push one, push two, and then we are ranging between these overall. Okay. And let's just assume that we are trying to, and we are assuming that this uptrend is going to resume. Then, on the basis of that assumption, this is my buying zone, which is a no man's land in a higher time frame. You understand what I'm trying to say, right? So, what is the ideal way for me to act on it on these information or the data points I have? It's best for me to assume that we are in a high time frame range until I get a confirmation. For example, if the price tries to move and slowly creeps towards this buying zone, I would see how the price reacts to this buying zone. For example, if it comes to this point and gives me some sort of validation, not give a closing and trying, giving me a closing above the previous candle's high on a higher time frame. What is the best move? There is always a best move you can take, right? What is the best move for me to do here? Okay. Overall, if I assume that this is a no man's land, I would not do anything. But if I were to assume that this is a last leg and we are going to continue our trend, so I would position myself in general. You can do this with any basically thing. I'm explaining the logic or the thought behind this. I would just take a trade with this risk in general. Even if my assumption is wrong, I'm willing to lose. Right. For example, if I'm very like keen that this is the last leg, right? Then this is price is giving me first validation. Then I'm willing to take this risk, assuming that this is gonna be a good range. It's gonna give me 1 to 3 or 1 to 5 risk to reward ratio in general, right? So I would take this trade. This is the first case scenario. Okay. And if the price moves to it and through it, then obviously my previous assumption, right? Previous assumption that this is a overall uh, buying zone. Then I would try to buy it here with a good validation. So this is how I'm looking at it as of now. But I'm generally not interested in selling this. I'm just telling you right now. And just overall try not to sell this. This really dangerous, can be really dangerous. Okay, back to the 1 minute time frame. Okay, on a 1 minute time frame, हमारे पास जो 613 613 and 107 573 107 573. Wizard, have you trained your eye to look at the closes above the closes above? Because it's been a long time, and I think that that's very foundational to everything and every part of trading. Okay, अभी मैं देख रहा हूँ इस लेवल को. Okay, and come to 15 minutes time frame इस जगह पे. Let's see. ये यहाँ से ये हो गया और हमारा come to the see it on a 15 minutes time frame. Okay, you have that's a relief. That's a relief. Okay, so this in general is a selling zone in general. A low probability, but still a selling zone. Okay, if I were to sell this, I'm not interested in selling this. I'm just giving data points and validation and invalidation. For example, if we continue to move below this line and close below this line, that would be an ideal case for the bears. Uh, Wizard, can you do you really understand why I was used to say, okay, don't trade that, don't trade that. If you understand ranges, if you understand ranges, you'll understand, okay, that some things are built to trend, some things are not built to trend. Okay. For example, if I have a, for example, this is a trend. Is this a trend or not? This is a trend. Okay. But is it still a trend here? Or if I move up a time frame, right? Let's just say 4 hours. Do you really think that this is a trend? This is not a trend. This is a overall range. Okay. So why I used to say, yeah, in these forexes are not built to in general trend. It's rare for them to like trend. They trend very rarely, and their trend usually are happening on a very higher time frame, very higher time frame. For example, if they usually trend on daily time frame, right? Nasdaq and indices also trend on daily, but it's like more free, relatively more free. So they will stay here for like in this range for years. That's for the so the apex of this triangle is a magnet 224. This is would be the apex of the triangle. If we divide this range into half, divide this range into half, okay, the half would be 372. Move back to the 1 minute time frame. 372 come 372. This would 370. Yeah. This would bring us back to the 15 minutes buying zone again. And GJ and all of these forex pairs are very seasonal. You have to understand seasonality, but it's still not precise. A lot of randomness. But on Nasdaq and S&P 500. One more thing: avoid US 30. Avoid US 30. It can get pretty irrational very fast. Very fast. It can hurt you bad, really bad. Because everything I do, I have a very like basically logical mind. I try to like bring logic to everything. So whenever I trade US 30, it would give me something very irrational. So for example, if something is supposed to stay here, okay, if something is supposed to go down from this point, Nasdaq will usually like respect this point, but US 30 would like do this within a minute, come back and respect this. So it's like, yeah, no, I'm good. We have 1 minute till this 15 minutes close. Let's see how this 15 minutes is going to close. — 24 seconds till this 15 minutes going to close. Yeah, it's good. It's good when it's good until it's not. So careful, very, very careful. Okay, this 15 minutes took out the low of the previous 15 minutes. It closed above. Still, I'm not interested in taking a long as long as we are above this point. It needs to stay here for some time, at least 10 minutes. Then I'll take a long, otherwise, I'm generally assuming that's gonna go down based on the information I have. But for studying it for a while and then realize there were two thing factor news day and non heavy news day. Uh, sure, buddy. Stick to one thing. If you ask me, I would say stick to one thing and study it for years. I've been studying like NASDAQ for very long time, very, very long time. So it definitely helps sticking to one indices or index. Okay, one more thing. Are you checking the DJI or the regular trading hours for US 30 or not? Visit. If you're not using the regular trading hours, uh, you're harming yourself. Ha, ha, ha. Let's see what we got. Mm, No way, bro. Am I gonna introduce you to the regular trading hours? Dude. Oh, NASDAQ. Bro, it opened. Nice. Really nice. Visit regular trading hours means the only the New York session. This is electronic trading session, and for the NASDAQ, regular trading hours, I'm using QQQs. So it only shows you the previous New York session, and then the previous New York session, and then the previous New York session. It excludes the London trading session and the Asian trading session. So if you just look at the New York session, it's gonna make more sense, more sense. Just and if you don't know where to look for it, just type DJI and you'll have the US 30 regular trading hours. It's equivalent to the QQQs. Nah, nah. Who the who cares about the market profile? Who cares about that? This is what I'm talking about. If you have something that's working for you on the New York session, it's gonna and if you do a back test on the DJI, it's gonna show you more accurate results. And things which do not make sense or the indicators which do not make sense on the electronic trading hours will probably make much more sense here. But you have to look at both. Yeah, yeah. So you have to look at both electronic and the regular trading hours, both of it. But in general, if you're just back testing, it's best to look at the session you are trading. Okay, so the Nasdaq opened. I learned it when I was obsessed with say Sira charts. Who is Sira charts? I only trade on the regular trading. Yeah, you trade on the regular trading hours, but are you looking at that chart? Okay, let's do an analysis on the NASDAQ, NASDAQ. We're on similar to the Bitcoin, which never got a closing above the previous highs. So Bitcoin is somewhere around here, right? It's not getting a closing and still within this range. Bitcoin and Nasdaq follow each other like very indirectly, but still, they follow each other, but still it's lagging. Okay, so this was the all-time high. 22,559 is the all-time high, which we got a closing above. Now, what I'm waiting for, I'm waiting for the follow through. It's very more likely that we probably will, oh, what, get a second leg or a half second leg, 1.5, 1 and 1.5 towards the upside, 1.5, yeah, and that would be 20. That would be for traditional projections, 23,000, 23,000. Yeah, it's very likely that we are going to get a second leg, a second standard deviation of this point. Probably we are gonna first, the ideal or the key levels which we have is 23,000. Yeah, 23,000 or 800, 22,800 is really important. Why should you look at both? It gives you much more better context. If you have a gap on the opening, you can see where the gap is coming from, what happened before, why is the gap, is the gap is going to sustain, was it news, was it any other thing. So it gives you much more clarity of context if you look at the both time frames, both charts. Basically the same thing. Uh, sh- sh. I don't say, okay, on NASDAQ, right? So what I'm gonna do here is mark 23,000, 23,000. We have a gap in the NASDAQ. Let's see, the first 5 minutes closed. I'm gonna mark this gap with, all gaps are marked with this color. Okay, I'm gonna extend it to Fridays. Also, just keep this in mind that on every candle, this is the last day of the month. Last day of the month. So the price can fluctuate or may not fluctuate or may behave very weirdly within a day or two. And after the new candle will open, it's gonna gyrate one side towards the upside. So till three, fourth, or fifth, it's unlikely that we are gonna get a strong move. Still, we can trade within the smaller time frames. We can still trade within the smaller time frames. Okay, so the price, we got a closing above on 5 candle, the previous high on the 5 minutes time frame. Bulls tried to close this gap We retouched this point. The sellers who tried to sell from this point got out at break even. Then the price agrees to move towards the upside, another move towards the upside. Okay, so this was the threshold. I was waiting for the price to move below this point. When market retested, like this point gave us a bad follow through. It was also last candle. It was the last candle of the hour 5:55. This is the new candle of the hour, right? You see this point. We have still 10 minutes. We are 10 minutes within this candle and we are moving towards the upside. So if you think about power of three, as the new candle opens, it's going to move towards the wrong side, then to the right side. And also keep this in mind that we do not have a wick on the hourly time frame, which is a rare case. What is the probability that we are going to make a wick towards below this low? There's an 80% or a 75% chance that we are going to, within this 48 minutes or the next hour, fill this inefficiency. Probably fill this inefficiency. It's very, very likely. Very likely. Okay. You can also say that we are in this expanding, contracting, trying, no, expanding, trying. Okay. This expanding, trying. We can assume this still. Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Was given a model to trade. I just backtested. Well, I do my drills where I master my setup through repetition. Then I choose random day to test my ability. See traded upgraded the replay function, which makes it even better for training. Yes, visit. I can you just trade with if you're back testing too much, it's good. It's good, but trade even with a small amount of money. Trade with real money if you can. Okay, because theory is theory. Practical doing something like practically is completely different from theory. So back testing is good unless until you are at the student phase of your trading, then I can say you are still learning about new things. Okay, then it's really good. You're still learning about new things, so it makes sense. Yeah, you're trying and doing at the trial and error phase, but once you understand that, okay, this is my setup and this is how the price moves, once you go through the trial and errors of the market, like for example, you understand what's the pullback, what's the major trend reversal, what's the gap, what's a triangle, what's a range, what's like you understand different contexts, then it's all about your execution. Even with a winning strategy, you won't be able to make money if you are not executing it correctly. Okay. So that's really important. Really important. Okay. This is a 15 minutes time frame just to keep context in check. If we move to the the hourly time frame, it's negative. Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to look about it because if you're like backtesting at the end of the day, that's really that's a really nice habit to develop. Basically, you're even in hindsight. For example, if the day is closed, like today, the session closed, and I'm looking back at today's session and looking at where I did wrong, where I did right, and where I did wrong. How can I improve on that? You can say that, yeah, it's hindsight, it happened just recently, so you're making a case of what happened recently. But no, if you do it for long enough, you're gonna remember things when the time comes. So that's a good habit. Okay. The 5 minutes. The 15 minutes is still clearly bullish, not bearish. Clearly bullish, not bearish. Until no, it's not. So I'm just waiting for the price to stay here for long enough for me to go long on the shorter time frame. So जी हमारे पास coming back to the NASDAQ. ओके सो NASDAQ के अंदर यार हम लोगों का this we got a closing above, right? This is the half of this candle. Okay, we're likely to close this gap, which is how many points left? 13, 16 points. 13 or 16 points. It's fairly dangerous to short this. We are clearly, very clearly in an uptrend. We clearly are in an uptrend, so I would suggest not to short it. Like, don't even think about shorting this unless we move below this point, like far below this channel, and make a lower high. Then I would be interested in shorting this. But overall, please do not short this. It can move very far, then more than you can imagine, right? More, it can go very far more than you are assuming or you can assume. So it has the capacity and the capability. So never fear these sorts of trends. I created a training methodology of training outside life execution and realized products were never see the result because they never train. Every sport emphasizes training, yet forex traders don't. Come out to an institutional level higher performer. Yeah, that's good. It's a good habit. Okay, my target is reached. This is the QQQs. This was a projection of this lower heart. This was the target we tried to reach at 18th February but failed, like badly failed from the bull flags. Failed bull flag led us to 404 and a V-shaped recovery. But still, I would not short this 15 minutes close to QQQ is close, so I'm gonna just keep an eye on the NASDAQ. Um, let's take. Let's see if the price reacts to NASDAQ. It's not tradable yet. It's not tradable. It's gonna be until the New York session. But until then, I'm not interested in NASDAQ. I'm just watching how the price is moving on Bitcoin. We're trying to move above this channel. See this channel. Move above this channel. We're a wedge bottom. basic assumption was this is a expanding triangle. But if we move above, we'll stabilize here for some time. This is a 15 minutes time frame. If we get a closing above this point, that would be ideal case. We can move further up and I can buy a small pullback. But until then, it's just see this point. Bounced off the 50% of the range, overall range. Okay. So if I divide this overall uh, into thirds, right? One third, no man's land, selling zone, and one third. But still, I'm not considering it as a downtrend, so I'm not interested in shorting this. I'm just looking at how the price is reacting to this level and how long the price will stay above this level for me to be go long. Okay, it's giving good validation and confirmation. Just also for context, this is the daily candle. It's going to close within an hour and 30 minutes. It's going to close within an hour and 30 minutes. The daily candle will close. So we are 1 hour and 30 minutes till the close, right? Closed below, closed below, closed below, closed below. This would be the first strong close we will get if we get a closing to this point, above this point, generally. Let's mark it a neutral. Lol, I'll have to call it a night. It's midnight this side in South Africa. It was nice catching up with you. Wait, I'm curious. I remember to move to Dubai. Who do you talk in Dubai? Who do you talk to in Dubai? Or do you log in and trade by yourself? No, I do a lot of things. That's why I'm not getting much time for live streams. So I'm really, really busy these days. That phase is gone. That isolation phase, bro, it's gone. The grinding phase, right? The trading grind, the researching, the back testing, and like thinking about trading majority of the waking hours, that phase is gone. I don't really think about trading that much because the things I know are not gonna change, right? So I just execute, take a trade. If it's a win, it's a win. Majority of the days, weekdays, I just trade basically 30 minutes to 40 minutes. New York session. That's all. So, and rarely if there's a long-term swing trade for NASDAQ or BTC, then I'll buy it in the long-term portfolio and just forget about it. Otherwise, I'm not obsessed with trading. I like it, really, really like it, but still not in that phase. Yeah, something like that. My family is there also, so we have our businesses. 15 minutes is going to close in the 4 minutes, and we are 35 minutes far away from closing this hourly candle. 4 15 minutes candle. Yes, I'm still in that phase. Oh, bro, if you are in that phase, I wish you good luck, bro. Bro, it's really hard. If you really are in that phase, you have earned my respect. I don't know, because everybody has their own criteria for success or criteria for grind. But if you really are grinding in this chaotic world of trading, you really have my respect, bro. And one more thing, if you really need any help, if you're stuck somewhere, you can really ask me. And honestly, anything, bro. I know it hurts. I know it's tough, bro. It's tough. If you're just relying on this, then it's tough. So 12:45, we got a wick from this point, a lower low, we made a wedge and the 50% of the buying zone and the 50% of this apex of the triangle. We move above, see this point, the first lower high, second and third. We're trying to move to this point. If we move above this point, stay above this point, give a closing, then this would become, this overall would become the buying zone. See this point. I'm gonna simplify it for you like this. So yeah, okay. So this would become the buying zone. So I was assuming as we were here that we are in a contracting triangle. My assumption was that we gonna, if we stay below this point, then that would be pull put us back towards this point, making a fourth leg. But we got support from this area. The new candle open of the new candle open, we are moving straight up. So where is the daily open? 107, we opened on the day on 107. 107, we opened here, right? An hour before, we are 1 hour and 30 minutes till the close of this daily candle. And we were last hour, we were at below this close. We bounced off this close. So whatever happened here happened in the last candle, last previous hour. You see this 15 minutes. So it's not quite sustainable. But still, if we get a closing above within 1 hour and 30 minutes above this blue line, that would be really good for the bulls, and we will probably get a second leg up testing 109. But it's a very low probability trade and low probability idea. I am getting small withdrawals. I memorized GJ 2024. That's how I developed my trading methodology. I got annoyed on Tuesday when I realized I was waiting for 30 pips. I memorized 6 whole months after that Tuesday. move to US 30 and after seeing some proper lock-ins. So visit and just, bro, as a brother, you understand why I'm saying you as a basically, right? As a brother, right? I understand where you are. I want you to focus on NASDAQ rather than US 30. It's gonna betray you so hard. Like it's gonna, because if something is working for you, it's just a matter of time. For example, if something is working for you, it's gonna be completely changed within 3 or 4 months. So in the long run, you will end up break even. Try to focus on the NASDAQ and S&P 500. And once you start to trade NASDAQ and S&P 500, you will understand that there is a lot of fair market. You will understand that basically you haven't dealt with the unfairness of US 30. So that's why I'm warning you, right? So it's better that you just, if you have changed it recently, then I would suggest you to try NASDAQ and stick to it for years. It's worth sticking to it for years. And if you have a problem sticking with the NASDAQ, I can tell you some things which can get you started, but not on this live stream, obviously. Okay. I can give you a methodology through that. You can, through that lens, you can understand a lot of things. But as a base, NASDAQ is the best thing you should trade. Or you can grind your way towards this point of view that I have taken through like trial and error, but it's gonna take some time and misery, a lot of misery. Okay, so how long till you see this point? 6:32. We are 2 minutes. You see this point? 30 minutes close. This is where the 6:30, the new 30 minutes candle opened. We're coming back. We're coming back. So this is why stabilization is really important. Stabilization is really important because the market can do these sorts of things. The market needs to stay at some place for some period of time for it to stabilize and prove that it can, the higher time frame is interested. Basically, higher time frame means once the price is being sustained, you can assume that the institutions are buying it and holding the price there. For example, if you get a close on a 4 hours time frame, that has more weight to it if relative to the 5 minutes time frame, obviously, because you can understand it this way. How many 5 minutes are in a 4 hours? Hmm? Do you understand? 54 or 48, depending on your taking, right? So there are 48 5 minutes candle on a 4 hours time frame. If the 4 hours is closing above a certain high or certain low, you can consider 48 5 minutes candle weight of the 4 hours close. Okay, no problem. I will check it out. Friday movement was weird and yesterday was still measured to catch the NASDAQ. We are trading everything at this point. So just focus on one thing. Focus on one thing. Just the NASDAQ and QQQs. They both are the same thing. NASDAQ and QQQs. And try to trade the open. Oh, not just the open. For example, you're trading the 2 hours, first 2 hours of the open, and that's it. That's it. Every single day. You're just trying to trade the first 2 hours when there is momentum. That's all. You take 1 to 1 or 1 to 2 risk to reward trades, 1 to 5 risk to reward trades, which makes it a high probability trades. Because in general, when there's momentum, you will get follow through. So if you're getting a good trade, you can easily catch 1 to 1 trades, right? So it's good. It's good. So you're trading, think about it. You're trading now in US 30 in the first 2 hours. It's madness. And if you're thinking that you can increase, it's not scalable on US 30. Think about it in this term. If you're trading S&P 500, you have a logical system with a 60%, 60 is too much. Like realistically, 55% win rate, right? If you're trading a system with a 55% win rate or 60% win rate on NASDAQ or S&P 500, you can scale it, easily scale it. It's scalable. Your expectancy is 1 or 1.2 something. But the same thing would not be scalable on US 30 because it can expand way too much. So you always have to like recalculate your position size. You'd have to, and it adds a layer of complexity, another layer of complexity, which is like why? Because the key point in trading is risk to reward. Whether you are risking 100 points on US 30 and making 200 points, that doesn't really matter. And on S&P 500, if you're risking 2 points to make 4 points or 2 points, that's still 1 to 1 risk to reward ratio. But on S&P 500, you can increase your position size because it respects it. For example, if it will respect things and it makes it repeatable. It repeats. See this point. We broke out of this channel. Okay. We retested the same channel or we left a gap. Okay. So do we have a gap at this point? Yes, we do have a gap. So what are we going to do here? We're gonna take a single standard deviation. So for example, if I were to buy it as the price was moving above this point, or give me a closing above this point, for example, right? This is the 1 minute time frame, right? It gave me a closing above this point, straight went to a straight one single standard deviation. Understand? So it gave me a 1 to 1 risk to reward ratio. So it moved a single standard deviation. Once we move above this point, then how am I going to calculate? So this becomes the range, or this overall can be at the range, but still I'm going to mark this as a range. Where are we now? Where are we now? We are at the two standard deviations. See this point. The bulls who bought around this point, a lot of them got out at the single standard deviation. Okay. And the bulls who bought above this at a higher time frame context, they're gonna probably take profit somewhere around here. Okay, you see this point here. How the price is gonna react to this point depends. How far are we till this hour is going to close? This hour, then the next hour. Okay, how the price is going to react to this. Basically, we are at the two standard deviation of this move. This move. Lol, knowing us, we will talk till the sunrise this side. We will talk on some other time. I will have to sit down and ponder on the US 30 NASDAQ thing. No, no, don't ponder it. Just do it. If I'm telling you to do something, just do it. Trust me, bro. I don't gain anything from you. I don't lose anything from you. I have nothing. Like, bro, you have really have nothing to offer me. Just, as I understand your struggle, so I'm just telling you that focus on one thing, and that's NASDAQ. That's the same thing I've been telling you for a year and a half now. So, what's the point? What's the point? Okay, okay, 108, 388. Okay, guys, I hope you learned something from this session. Probably tomorrow and the New York session, I'll probably be live, probably not. It depends on how my schedule is. But thanks for watching, and I'm also going. Okay, so one more thing. If we cross the two standard deviation, we are gonna move back to the top of the channel. So where did this channel started? This channel started, this was the first leg, the second leg, and the third leg. We are at the top of this channel. Considering this as a trading range and dividing it into thirds, we are entering where? We are entering the selling zone. Okay, we are entering generally as if the price stays here for some time, I would not be amazed if the price just move like just as it's strong. It closes above, close above, close above, close above, close above. If it's continue to move this way, then obviously this would be negated. And if I'm, for example, if I'm holding a trade, it's an example. I'm not. I'm holding this. There's no reason to sell this. If I'm holding this trade, no reason to sell this. No reason to sell this. No reason to sell this. No reason. This as an exception. But why is it an exception? And it's acceptable because it's 6:30. The higher time frame candle closes, it's allowed to move two or three lows will close. So it's more of a buy the close bar than sell the close bar. So overall, it's a selling zone. Okay, bros and hosts, I'm gone. Go, went, and thank you for watching this video.